I probably should start by apologizing because I've been gone so long, and probably about a year ago I said that I would make more videos, and here I am. But hey, it's cool. I'm here now. I want to thank you for sticking around because you could have very easily been like unsubscribe if she's not making anything. I highly doubt you're sitting on the edge of your seats waiting for me to make a video, but I appreciate you, still being subscribed. I had this idea in my head, wanted to get it out and share it with you all and maybe see if you might be able to relate. So I was thinking in terms of standing up for yourself. So this channel is about, introverts, communication for introverts. I'm an introvert, if you don't already know. And so I know that there have been times in my life, I think they're pretty rare when I think about the fullness of the 34 years that I've been on this earth. But there have been times where I've needed to either step up and defend myself, speak up, speak out, to defend myself, sometimes to defend others, like the ones that I care about, or a community of people overall. And I noticed that when I'm done doing that, I feel really, really drained. Like it takes so much energy out of me to do that because that is not something that I typically do. At the end of that, I feel drained. And if it gets to that point where it's something like I'm having to raise my voice and really be assertive and things like that, like I said, it's not something that I typically have to do. I'm just a pretty, I think, level person. I don't know. Ask the people that know me best. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But for the most part, I think I'm a pretty, level person. I was wondering if any of the other introverts out there feel me on that. I can think of an example in my mind. It was a couple years back now. And then I can think of one that's a little bit more recent, that's on a bit of a grander scale. But this first example that I'm thinking of, it was years ago. I had a different car than I have now. And it was my first modern car that I had, because before that I had Jeeps from the 90s, and I loved them dearly, but they did not love me back. And so this is my first modern car, and I would take it to the dealership to get maintenance and things like that. This time something was wrong and took it to be repaired. When I picked it up, I'm driving and I hear this crazy sound that I've never heard before, and I'm scared. I'm like, obviously something is up because it wasn't making this, even though it needed repair, it wasn't making this sound when I brought it in. So I call and I'm talking to the person in charge, and by this point, when I've driven, it's the end of the day, and so I'm driving to my boyfriend at the time at his house. He helps me, looks under the hood, and finds a piece that's out of place, puts it back in place. And we figure out that that's it. But of course I'm upset because I'm like, I took it to get repaired, and you left parts undone. And if I had not gotten to his house, I don't know, possibly if I had lifted the hood and figured it out, there's a possibility I could have figured it out myself. But there's no guarantee. And it's just it's supposed to be, you expect the car to be put in place. Frustrated, but not, to a heightened level. I'm like, all right, whatever. Wake up the next day after I've gotten back home, car doesn't start. I'm like, okay, cool. Call the guy in charge, and I'm like, hey, my car's not starting. I think he's trying to troubleshoot it with me. It's been a couple years. It's a little foggy, but pretty sure he's trying to troubleshoot it with me. And then we figure out it's the battery. My dad gives me a jump. I drive back to the dealership. I'm like, hey, what's going on? Once again, even though my car needed to be repaired, was not starting. And so it was these whole, all new issues that were coming up following me dropping it off at the dealership. So in my mind, I'm like, are they trying to trap me into paying money to get these repairs done that weren't problems before? And so I go into guy in charge's office, and he starts talking to me, and it's basically a sob story. He's talking about the mechanic that worked on my car and how he has such a good heart, and he's the stepdad of 11 children or something. It was just things completely irrelevant to my car. He's just expressing basically, don't be upset at this mechanic who did not put the parts back in place. They say they're gonna repair it that day. I go back home next day, car does not start again. Got there, and by this point I'm upset. And I'm like, listen, in this situation, guy in charge, this time he doesn't really want to talk to me. He just kind of like waves me off and it's like, oh yeah, they'll take care of you. Well, I was like, no, I want to talk to you. And so I go into his office, and at this point, after, the third day in a row of encountering trouble with my car, more trouble than I had before turning my car over to them, at this point, I'm upset, and I've got to say something and speak up. And so I'm being assertive, and I'm letting him know that I noticed your sob story that you were telling me and how, it was completely irrelevant, and you're like going on and on about this. And he's like, oh, I didn't do that to get sympathy. I was like, yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. But anyway, I had to be assertive. At one point, I'm sure I'm raising my voice and letting him know, like, hey, I'm sure you don't want to see me again in your office just as much as I don't want to be here anymore. So we need to take care of this. And it ended in a resolution of, my car being repaired properly and me leaving. And I just never, ever returned to that dealership again because of the poor service. But I had to stand up for myself because I recognized that I was about to be just dismissed. And who's to say that it would not have been the case where I was going through the same thing all over again. That was a time where I don't think it was anything extreme, but I do know that after I had that exchange with him, I felt really, really drained. And because it wasn't something that I enjoyed. Like, if I had to raise my voice, if I had to get to that level to defend myself, it's not something I enjoy. Like, I'm not, afterwards, I'm not like, yeah, I told them, yeah, da-da-da. And, like, it's just, I am like, why did we even have to get that far? And so I'm really curious if you can relate, and if you've had situations like that where, you're in the face of injustice, or maybe it's just like an argument with somebody that you're close to, and when you're done with it, are you just drained? And you're like, I don't like that. Like, I don't like that mode. I guess if you think about it in like that, like you don't usually operate in that mode, and you have to shift to this other mode in order to get out what you need to say and to show somebody that you're serious and that you're not someone to underestimate or overlook, which is, I think, a lot of the times what people apply to introverts. Just kind of assuming that maybe they can manipulate you or take advantage in some sort of way. And it is unfortunate that that's the way that introverts can be seen. It's generally just the way that we are fueled from day to day in terms of, where our energy sources come from. But when it comes to energy, that definitely drains me when it's a situation like that. I'm really curious if anybody else can relate, if you've gone through that. And then how do you deal with that? Like, how do you pick your battles? Because you definitely have to pick your battles, right? Or you would be so exhausted. Sometimes someone can poke you to the point where, like, you are getting to a point of frustration, but you recognize that it's not worth your time, it's not worth your energy. And I've had to do that plenty of times where I'm like, I'm rolling with this, and I'm just going to separate all feeling and thoughts about this. And you can sometimes compartmentalize in certain situations in order to really preserve your energy and preserve your well-being, because it can suck the life out of you. In the comments, if you'll share with me maybe experiences you've had, or just kind of like, hey, yeah, I understand, I can relate, I've gone through this before also. How do you deal with conflict? How do you navigate talking to somebody in a way where you're ensuring that you are standing up for yourself, and that somebody isn't disrespecting you or even disrespecting somebody else while you're, witnessing it? So I'm curious about that. This video was brought to you by Rihanna and those other guys. The song is 4 or 5 seconds, and the line that I pulled from the song that made me think of this topic was all of my kindness is taken for weakness. And I can relate to that. Good to be back. Yeah, hopefully I will get back into a rhythm of actually uploading, maybe this year. This will be the year. Thank you so much for watching. Definitely comment, let me know what you think, what your feelings are, if you can relate. Like this video and subscribe to the channel if you happen to come across this video and you're not subscribed already. Go ahead, give me a subscribe, like, hello, welcome. Yeah, I'll talk to you later.